Tonight for dinner, I wanted to make the old loaded steakhouse burger from Burger King. My husband has been dreaming about this burger since it got discontinued in like 2009 or something. And there's very little information about this burger on the internet. So this was made mostly from his memory. I've never had anything like this. I think mashed potatoes on a burger are a little weird, but it was rather successful. I kind of had to fight him to get this back. It's really messy, but it was actually super, super easy. I just used frozen patties. I used the fried onions from the pantry, a little bit of bacon, a little bit of mashed potatoes, and this came together really, really nicely. This is super delicious. This is going to go great with fries, and this is absolutely worth giving a shot. The very first thing we're going to do is we're just going to make our mashed potatoes. Now, for loaded mashed potatoes, generally they are red skin potatoes, very often with the skin on, and that's kind of what it seemed like was here. Red potatoes are used in steakhouses, and I know this was a steakhouse burger, so that's what we're going to use is some red potatoes, and I've already washed these. I'm not doing very many because I'm only making 2 burgers. I'm just going to do 3 kind of small potatoes. And that's it, no peeling, because I think that skin will add a really nice touch. I'm going to just cover these with water, and I'm going to add in some garlic bouillon for flavor. I just gave those a quick rinse. I'm just going to add, let's see, so this is sitting at about the 2-cup mark, so I'm going to add about 2 cups worth of bouillon. That's about 2 teaspoons, and this is just a garlic bouillon. I think that garlicky mashed potatoes are always better than non-garlicky mashed potatoes. So I'm just going to add that into my water. I'm going to give it a really good mix, and I'm just going to cook these until they are soft enough to mash. The next thing we are going to do is just prep our bacon. I've got 4 slices of some kind of thick cut bacon here. And I'm actually going to cut these in half. I personally think it's pretty important to cut your bacon in half because each half cooks at different speeds, and so it's just nice to have a little bit more control over that. All right, now I've got my 8 half slices of bacon. I'm going to fry these up in the pan, and then we are going to cook our hamburger patties in the bacon fat. All right, I like to start my bacon in a cold pan. I think it helps render out a little bit more of the fat. And everything tends to cook, bacon tends to cook a little bit more evenly when I do that. And I'm just gonna let these cook, and I don't want them to get too crispy. Burger King's bacon was never super crispy anyways. So I'm just gonna let these cook until they are cooked all the way through. And then I'm gonna take them out and set them onto a paper towel lined plate so we can cook our patties. My bacon is fully cooked. I've got just a little bit of bacon grease left in the pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw in my frozen hamburger patties. And these are 73% lean burger patties. I usually use 85%, but I think Burger King uses a slightly higher fat. So I really wanted to try to kind of keep with that. And then I am just gonna season these really simply. Burger King uses just salt and pepper, so that's all I'm going to use. Just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, and as the burger starts to cook through, this is going to, of course, unfreeze and soften up, and that salt and pepper will actually start to stick to the patty. So I'm going to let this sit for just 2 or 3 minutes until it's ready to flip, and then cook the other side. My burger patties are nearly done. I am going to go ahead and make my mashed potatoes. I'm just going to drain out most of my cooking liquid. I'll keep Just a few tablespoons in there for now. And then because we're making loaded mashed potatoes, of course, these have to be super, super buttery. So I'm gonna add in half a stick of butter into here, ideally without the paper. And we're just gonna give this kind of a mash, a manual mash, to start melting the butter and get the potatoes a little bit broken down. And then I'm just gonna give this a mix until they're fully mashed. I'm not really adding in any seasoning because they cooked in that garlic broth. And I think for something like this, a few lumps are actually going to be okay. Something a little bit thicker will sit really nicely on top of this burger. And then to make the loaded part, of course, we are going to add in some sour cream. This is really going to make it feel like a baked potato. Probably just about a tablespoon or two. We'll give that a mix. And then we are going to add in some shredded cheese. And then our last thing, because we can't forget the greens, some chives. I've got these lightly dried chives. If you have fresh chives, you can definitely use that. We just don't really get fresh chives at our grocery store. So lightly dried it is. And that's it. My cheesy loaded mashed potatoes are done and ready to go on the burger. Just gonna put this lid back on. And I think my burger patties are done. I almost forgot, one last thing we're gonna use are some crispy fried onions. I tried to get French's, but those were out of stock, so we are using Great Value today. And I'm not gonna do too much. I'm just kind of gonna estimate what I think is gonna go on 2 burgers. And I'm just gonna toast these at 350 for 5 minutes. I just wanna get them crisped up a little bit. If you want to bread and fry your own onions, you can definitely do that, but this is fast food, so I'm doing it fast. All right, my burger patties are done. Unfortunately, because they're such a high fat, they shrunk down to smaller than the hamburger bun, which is not, very specifically not how this burger was, but that's okay. We'll work with what we have. I'm gonna go ahead and just put on some bacon onto each burger here. And we've got one with cheese and one without cheese. I don't want cheese on my burger, but I know this kind of came with cheese initially. My crispy onions were in the toaster oven at 350 for probably 2 or 3 minutes, just enough to get them crispy and warm. So I'm going to put those on top. And then on top of that is going to go our loaded mashed potatoes. I can already tell this is going to be a messy burger. If my potatoes were a little bit thicker, it may have been okay, but it's all right. We'll see how it goes. And I made too many mashed potatoes, but that's all right. He'll eat them later. And then last is just our A1 sauce. And this is just gonna go on the top bun. And that's it. This is the loaded steakhouse burger from Burger King. I have never had anything like this before, but I know he is super excited to try this, so we are gonna give this a shot. This is a messy burger. All right, let's see if I can take a reasonable bite out of this. Okay, we're gonna try right here. Cheers. Is that pretty good? This is all right. This is really interesting. I've never had mashed potatoes on a burger before. This is really, really messy, but this is pretty good. I think this is gonna be a good dinner.